Welcome you all for the course Banking Theory Law and Practice. The topic of this session is Electronic Payment System. Following the electronic clearing service and electronic funds transfer system, we need to understand something about the electronic payment system. The electronic payment system is a convenient way of making purchase or paying for a service. How far it is used by the today's customer and how far it is rendered by the modern banking sector. These are all going to be learned in different terms under the electronic payment system. Let's see first of all the meaning of the term electronic payment system, EPT. A convenient way of making a purchase or paying for a service without holding cash or having to go through the process of completing a check and producing some form of acceptable identification is called an electronic payment system. A convenient way of making a purchase or paying for a service particularly, and we need not hold cash, and it will be accepted and the form will be accepted. The form of payment system will be accepted. So that we need to go for electronic payment system as it is emerged by the today's situation as well as the current banking affairs. So we need to understand first of all the basic and fundamental ideas, nuances of electronic payment system. Let's continue. The EPT and its features. The EPT has some kind of characteristics and feature. The very first characteristics of the electronic payment system is the important constituent. See, electronic payment system constitutes an important segment of the e-banking and financial service. Mode. The electronic payment system is achieved through several modes such as a plastic card, etc. There are several modes of payment system. Then convenience. The biggest advantage claimed by the electronic payments is that they are the convenient ways of completing cash-based transactions. Cash-based transactions. And no manual system. An electronic payment involves a series of processes by which value exchange is captured, verified, and accepted in a secured way. The electronic payments require least manual intervention that results in reduced cost, easy record storage, and handling of data at a faster speed compared to manual system. So that compared to manual system, no manual handling, no manual records, no manual items that are processed here. All these are digitized, and the electronic payment system is simple, convenient, faster, speedy, right? Let's see what are the constituents that are required to be for the electronic payment system. There are so many constituents of the working of an electronic payment system without whom the electronic payment system will not be successful, even it will not be working. So we need to understand the constituents one by one. First of all, there should be a customer, otherwise the electronic payment system will not be working effectively. Customer. Who is customer here? The customer constitutes the foremost element of an electronic payment system. He is the one who browses the internet, visits an email, purchases an item and makes payment electronically. It is obvious that the customer should be a computer literate with basic browsing capabilities. It is important that the entire payment architecture is designed taking into the interest, convenience, and the safety of the customer visiting the site. The offer of service facilities must be such that they are capable of attracting the customers in large numbers. The very next constituent in the electronic payment system and its working is the shopping mall. It is another key element in the electronic payment system, and it is the e-mall visited by the customer. An e-mall is a shopping plaza visited by a customer who is on a shopping spree. A typical e-mall lists the merchants who are available in the e-mall server. This way, the customer is directed to the server of the concerned shopkeeper on the e-mall. The e-mall provides a list of merchants and a wide choice of products made available for sale, so that the customer makes a choice of a product or a service depending on the price offer, and he will select from the e-mall and book for it or make an order for it. The next constituent in the EPT, that means electronic payment system, right, is the merchant. The merchant provides the third pillar of support to the electronic payment architecture. The merchant usually constructs and maintains the website. He makes available the list of products and services for online shopping. The web server of the individual merchants are linked to the web server of the e-shopping mall, so that the customer will visit, choose, and make an order for the suitability of his needs, right? The next constituent is the banker. The banker is playing a predominant role in the electronic payment system. The e-banker provides the most vital pillar of support needed in an environment of electronic payment system. For instance, the banking network provides online payment support system, linking the consumer with the merchant. The online banking network comprises of several components such as the merchant's bank, the customer's bank, the e-card payment authority such as the Visa International, etc. The merchant's banker maintains the accounts for the merchant, authorizes and processes the payments. Similarly, he also maintains a link with the consumer's bank for verifying the transactions happening. Virtual banking transactions that take place between the merchant and its bank, so as to allow online authorization of customer payment. The consumer's bank typically has an off link to the customer, such as email. These are all the important constituents, and without whom the EPT will not be effective. So that every one of these constituents are to participate in the mechanism of electronic payment structure, and also to play their vital role, so that the transaction will get completed and all the parties involved here will be beneficiaries, right? And they will get benefit. The next item is the process of EPT, electronic payment system process. How it goes, how the steps are taken into account, and what are the steps involved in the process. Actually, a typical process of the electronic payment system and structure that involves different steps. See, system-based steps, what are they? First, we need to understand the customer access by the customer of the e-mall, and selection of a merchant for the purpose of shopping online. Second, merchant details. The merchant details are to be available in the website. The presentation by the merchant. The home page of his store depicting the list of products and services available for sale with the price tags. These are all required to be placed or displayed or exhibited in the website of the e-mall. Then interaction by the customer. Customer interaction is very important. Interaction by the customer with the merchant and selection of a product or the service. This will be happening only after having interacted with the e-mall or website by the customer. And after having verified all those things and interacted, the customer will tend to order and make a payment, making electronic payment for the purchase of goods or services. And a customer do, the merchant obtaining authorization from his banker for the payment received from the e-customer. The merchant obtaining authorization from his banker for the payment received from the e-customer. This is another step. Then merchant informing the customer about the payment acceptance and the completion of the transaction. This acceptance process. The merchant obtaining payment from the consumer's bank. This is another way. Step, obtaining payment. And finally, the payment will be received. Information of the transaction and money transfer to the merchant through email or through monthly transaction report, which will be sent to a customer, which will also be available in the email website. So these are all the typical process that are involved with the different steps in the electronic payment system and structure. Let's see the different payment methods that are available under electronic payment system. There are various methods of payment adopted in an electronic payment system, and in this environment the first payment system is digital check. We have already seen the digital check in a different lesson, but put it in a nutshell, what is digital check and what are the process and uses we are going to see here as a payment method under electronic payment system. What is digital check? Actually, a digital check is an electronic payment device that involves the use of networking services whereby the e-customer issues digital checks to e-merchant malls to settle transactions carried over the internet, which is called digital checks. There are some features in the digital check. It possesses some of the characteristic feature. One is that digital checks are similar to paper checks issued in the physical banking environment, similar to paper checks. And digital checks system is carried over the internet with the adequate inbuilt security. You can see that there are inbuilt securities available with the digital checks and you can make use of it. The steps in the process of digital checks. The electronic check system that involves different steps. One is purchase by the customer in e-mall. Then issue of digital check by the customer. Then check validation by the merchant with its bank for payment authorization. Closure of transaction by the merchant with the consumer. Once validation is over, the transaction will be closed. Then the merchant forwarding the check to its bank after closure of transactions. Then merchant's bank forwarding the electronic check to the clearing house for encashment. Encashment will be done after forwarding. Then the clearing house clearing the check and transferring the money to the merchant's bank by updating the merchant's account. Now the merchant gets payment by the customer through the bank and clearing house sent to merchant's account and updated. Then consumer's bank updating the consumer and his account with the withdrawal information, or debiting consumer account, debiting the customer account. These are all the steps involved in the process of digital checks. Let us see the security schemes and benefits, right? Some of the benefits are there, and which will also be having the inbuilt security. The electronic check or digital check are beneficial in the following respects. What are they? That I am going to show you now. Easy and convenient. The digital checks are easy and convenient to issue. By way of issuing checks, you can feel that it is very easy, comfortable and convenient. And digital checks saves the time needed for writing and processing checks. And digital checks saves efforts needed for mailing and delivering the checks. And these checks ensures prompt forwarding and crediting of checks. Better customer service, as there is no need for waiting for making payments. Better ways of giving gifts. No fear of loss of checks. These are all the benefits of digital checks. The digital checks concerns the likely benefits claimed by electronic checks, which can be accomplished only with the required security mechanisms. Moreover, it is obligatory for the banking system to document the details of every transaction, passing through the system. Similarly, while maintaining such records, banks are obliged to protect the payee's privacy and not to divulge the details of banking transactions. So that every bank will be very careful, keen, and taking utmost care in maintaining the privacy and private details of every customer and protect the payee's privacy also, right? Then the second payment method, what is it? It is electronic cash. What is electronic cash? Just a minute. The electronic cash, also called digital money, that refers to a means of payment, and a payment system which is used in the online banking and financial services scenario. The e-cash being issued by the e-mint. E-mint will issue the e-cash. What is e-mint we will see, right? Before that, we need to understand the features of electronic cash. What are the features of electronic cash? An internet payment system that combines computerized convenience with security and privacy that improves over paper money. An attractive mode of payment for online shopping. An important payment carrier in consumer-oriented electronic payments. Important payment carrier. And it combines the benefits of both credit and debit cards. Combines the benefit of both debit and credit cards. Exclusive use only by the owner of electronic cash. Others cannot be using it. Others will not be able to use it. Exclusive use only by the owner of that electronic cash. Acceptance of e-cash only based on identification and verification of the owner or user. Not a legal tender, and hence e-merchants may refuse to accept them. E-merchants sometimes may refuse to accept them. The electronic cash issuing bank is called the e-mint. I said just little earlier what is e-mint, we will see later. Now we are seeing that electronic cash issuing bank is called the e-mint, which is authorized to sign the electronic cash. The e-mint issuing the electronic cash based on the funds provided to it by the consumer. The security mechanisms such as digital signature algorithms are used to ensure the security of e-cash. Security mechanisms such as digital signature algorithms which are received by the bank and used as a security mechanism to ensure the security of e-cash always, right? The process, electronic cash process, how is it processed? The five primary parties, viz. The consumer, the merchant, the consumer's bank, the merchant's bank, and the e-mint, operate payment through the electronic cash method. So five parties are involved. One is the consumer, two is the merchant, three consumer's bank, four merchant's bank, and the e-mint. The use of electronic cash, which involves different steps. What are they? Consumer requesting the bank to transfer money to the e-mint to make drawal of electronic cash. Consumer bank transferring money from the consumer's account to the e-mint. E-mint sending electronic cash to the consumer online, which is saved by him or by her on a hard drive or on an electronic purse for the subsequent use. Consumer making purchase of goods with the help of e-cash. Consumer transferring the electronic cash to the merchant in consideration of purchase of goods. Merchant sending the collected e-cash to his or her banker for conversion into physical cash. E-mint transferring money to the merchant's bank for crediting the merchant's account. These are all the electronic cash processing stages. Let's go and see the requirements for the electronic cash transactions. See, in order to have the electronic cash system, and also that electronic cash system works in a secure, private and convenient way, it is imperative that there are so many requirements that are to be filled in. If at all, if you do not fill your requirements for electronic cash system, it will be totally failing in the objective for which it has been started. So you need to have some kind of the required items which we are going to see subsequently. One, e-cash system must have independent existence and must support free mobility. It should not be of dependent, it should be of independent existence. Availability of adequate inbuilt safety mechanism to prevent any possible misuse by unauthorized persons as well as double spending on it. This is also another requirement. You should not spend money more. There should be a renewal after every use by the customer. User anonymity should be maintained so that no lead information is available on the previous ownership of cash. Easy transferability from one party to another with no trace of any movement of e-cash. Availability in several convenient denominations to facilitate its usage for normal transactions. Safe storage of e-cash at the customer's hard disk or in the electronic purse is necessarily to be maintained and also required. The time validity of the electronic cash. Availability of floor limit for making transactions through the electronic cash. These are all the major requirements and also to be maintained for electronic cash system, electronic cash mechanism. There are some major issues that are concerning the use of electronic cash. We need to understand the issues, then only we can overcome or we will be able to overcome those issues while doing the electronic cash mechanism. Being a banker, we need to understand every issues that are prevailing in the electronic cash system. Let's see one by one. The existence of operational risk associated with the use of e-cash. Existence of operational risk associated with the use of e-cash. What are such operational risk? Find it out. Find the operational risk and try to solve the operational risk or overcome. Then problems associated with the redeposit in the bank and reissue by the bank. There are so many problems associated with the redeposit in the bank and also the reissue. So we need to understand and find the problem and solve it. Possibility of e-cash being used for unlawful activities which attract the attention of the law enforcing agencies. Unlawful activities. Possibility for unlawful activities that should also be overcome. Need for designing a taxation and revenue structure with respect to e-cash transactions to take care of the revenue earnings. Need for maintaining the confidentiality and the security of the transactions carried out through e-cash. So these are all the issues that are prevailing in the electronic cash system and mechanism. You need to understand such issues and also try to solve every issues while doing the electronic cash mechanism. Let's go for the next payment method called electronic purse, e-purse. What is actually e-purse? A wallet-sized smart card that has been embedded with a programmable chip which stores e-money to be used in a virtual trading environment for making the payment is called the electronic purse. Electronic purse. What are the features of electronic purse? Let's see one by one. E-purse is electronically loaded with money by the e-mint or the banker in a virtual environment. E-purse is used for making payment for any e-transaction. E-purse is used for making payment for any e-transaction. And authenticity of the user is verified with the help of card vending machine installed at the merchant's e-mall. Every e-mall, of course, will be installed with the card vending machine, and it will be verifying the authenticity of the user. Deduction from the e-purse of the value of purchase and the money being added to the e-cash box in the vending machine. Then facility of convenient mode of payment to pay the bills for each transaction that happens. Charging of e-purse after it's being used and its value getting depleted. These are all the features of e-purse and use of e-purse, and it may be known otherwise as e-wallet and all, right? Next, payment method is electronic card. What is electronic card? An electronic card with a personal identification number PIN used in internet trade transactions is known as electronic card. The PIN being the secret code entered by the customer while using the credit card online. Once the customer intends to use the credit card online, right, the PIN should be used. Otherwise, it will not be operated or it will not be logged on. Okay, so all the customers are to be with the PIN for their electronic card. There are many features in the electronic card usage and electronic card system. There are 4 entities, first of all, comprising the working of the electronic credit, such as the consumer who e-shops. That means a consumer who is doing that e-shopping. The e-merchant, right? The e-merchant, the e-banking institution of the merchant, and the card issuing institution. These are all the 4 entities who are involved in the electronic card. And credit card transactions are handled by the merchant server, merchant bank, and the card issuing bank. Merchant server, merchant bank, and the card issuing bank. These are all the features of electronic card. What are the process of electronic card? Let's see one by one. The process of the electronic cards, use of credit card in a virtual environment is different from that of other features, other processes. Let's see one by one. Consumer access. What is consumer access? The consumer accessing the merchant's homepage and receiving a display of the merchant's goods. The consumer making a choice of the desired goods and offering a credit card payment to the merchant. The merchant server accessing the card issuing bank for credit authorization of the consumer's credit card number and the amount of purchase. Here the merchant server accessing the card issuing bank for credit authorization of the consumer's credit card, unless otherwise it will not be validated. So that credit card number should be authorized and the amount of purchase should also be authorized. The merchant's bank completing the authorization and informing the merchant about it. This is the work of merchant's bank. The merchant informing the consumer as to the completion of the transaction. Merchant will say the consumer that your transaction is completed now. The merchant server submitting a collection of receipts of various electronic credit purchases to the merchant's bank. The merchant's bank accessing the card issuer and obtaining the money for the sales effected. The card issuing bank updating the cardholder consumer about the amount of credit transferred to other parties as a result of the purchases effected by him or her. So you need to update at the end the process of the electronic card mechanism and also operation. There are some security requirements in the case of use of electronic card. They are in different aspects. The security aspects to be considered to ensure the privacy and also the security of transactions by using the credit card. The existence of a mechanism to validate the identity of the credit card issuing authority, the merchant, and the consumer. Using certificates for sending message to authenticate the sender and to provide the sender's public key. Protection of the private key of the certification authority so as to prevent any theft or loss of the CA's private key, certification authority's private key. Protection of the credit card number, the expiry date, PIN, the amount of purchase and other sensitive information during transmission over the internet. These are all the requirements, and furthermore we may add creation of a process to resolve credit card payment disputes amongst different entities involved in the process, such as the consumer, the merchant, and the bank. Let's see the benefits of the use of credit card. The use of credit card for making payment in a virtual banking environment that fetches different kinds of benefits. What are they? Possibility of not disclosing the credit card number and expiry date to the merchant, which would provide heightened security, higher security. The facility of instant payments to the merchants through credit card sales. These are all the benefits of credit card, electronic card. There are some issues. What are the issues? Electronic card issues. Despite the claim of benefits emanating from the use of electronic credit cards, there are some concerns expressed on its usage. Such of the concerns that are to be considered as issues expressed in this regard. One is possibility of loss of credit card information over the internet with debilitating consequences. The need for providing the non-repudiation and related documentation to address the disputes that may arise. The need for installing a dispute resolution mechanism. Of course, it is required. Dispute resolution mechanism that has to be installed online through online documentation and audit trails. If at all if these are not installed, the inquiries as well as the disputes of the people or the customers will not be resolved, so that the reputation will be lost. Hence, the electronic card issues are to be addressed very severely and seriously to resolve all those things by installing some kinds of mechanisms, operational mechanisms. And let's go for the fifth payment method called smart cards. People are talking today in a modern banking transaction, smart card, smart card, smart card, and everywhere the smart card has come over almost. The smart card is used even in fair price shops in all the states. Smart card, right? Smart card, Aadhaar card, smart card, PAN card, smart card. Every card is now differently known as a smart card for different operations. What is a smart card? Credit card sized cards with an embedded processor and memory designed to serve as a mobile electronic purse used for online shopping are called smart cards. The digital cash or private keys being stored on the cards. Smart cards are of several types. What are they? See, There are different types of smart cards. For instance, we need to understand one is known as memory cards. It contains space for data storage and can be used to store passwords or PIN. Many telephone cards use these memory cards. There is another key called shared key cards that store a private key, such as those used in public key crypto systems. Public key crypto systems. This helps the user to plug in the card to a workstation, and the workstation can read the private key for encryption to decryption, right? Encryption to decryption. There is yet another card called signature creating cards. Signature creating cards that carry a coprocessor used to generate large random numbers which are used for assignment as serial numbers for electronic cash. A user uses the card to generate electronic cash. The cash is then sent securely to a bank which draws money from the user's account and then issues the cash under its name by adding the bank's signatures. So these are all the types of cards: memory card, shared key cards, signature creating cards. These cards are collectively known as smart cards that are in the hands of the people today, and all customers are very proud to have the smart cards from the bank wherein they have an account for their usage. And all these cards are today used for all different purposes according to suit the needs of the customer. The cards are designed. Let's go for the next. The last payment method, SWIFT. What is SWIFT? Let's see first the expansion of this and go for what is SWIFT and what is the function of it. SWIFT stands for Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication. Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication. It is a robust communication channel to exchange information among banks and financial institutions aimed at facilitating a reliable, secure, and efficient global payment system. It is a robust communication channel, of course. It is designed to exchange information among banks and financial institutions, aimed at facilitating a reliable, trustworthy, secured and safe, and efficient and effective global payment system for banks and financial institutions. The introduction of SWIFT has come to greatly help in the faster transmission. The introduction of SWIFT has come to greatly help in the faster transmission of message among banks and financial institutions relating to payments in a standardized way, in a reputed and systematic way. This SWIFT helps the banks and financial institutions to go smoother in financial transactions. And the society, there was a society which was formed in May 1973 by 239 major banks from 15 countries. It was formed as a cooperative body with its headquarters at Brussels, Belgium. The SWIFT allows worldwide financial institutions. You may be asked a question in multiple choice. The year of 1973 or 74 or 75 or 76 SWIFT formed, and how many major countries? 239, 240, 238 to 237, like you may be given a question, right? You please try to understand. May 1973 SWIFT formed with 239 major banks from 239 major banks from 15 countries. Don't write countries 239, countries 15, but 239 major banks. So it was formed a cooperative body with its headquarters placed at Brussels, Belgium, and the SWIFT allows worldwide financial institutions to exchange standardized messages relating to international financial transactions. The users of a system include banks, non-banking financial institutions like dealers in securities, brokers, clearing and depository institutions, stock exchanges, etc. Understand, the users of system that include banks, non-banking financial institutions like dealers in securities, brokers, clearing agents or clearing agencies, clearing institutes, and depository institutions, DA, and stock exchanges, whatever be the stock exchanges are all allowed to make use of the facility that is available in SWIFT. So I hope you would have understood all the electronic payment systems what we discussed, and also the methods of payment. And for your understanding purpose, it has been very slowly handled as well as hope made understood. So every one of you please learn accordingly and do your examinations, and refer to your questions also, whatever we asked. Wish all the best and take care.